I am so excited for this week's video. Ah, can't wait. What happens when a young, scrappy, and hungry founding father without a father doesn't move on to the afterlife? Is that even possible? Okay, so I love theater and I also love the paranormal. So I love topics like these because I can combine my two loves together. In case you haven't heard, there's a really popular musical out there called Hamilton. It was written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I've actually had the chance to see Hamilton on stage live, and ever since the filmed stage version came out on Disney Plus, I've been listening to Hamilton on loop. I've watched it way too many times, more than I'm willing to admit, because I can't get enough of Hamilton. But of course, one has to wonder, since the real Hamilton and the real Aaron Burr left this world over 2 centuries ago, is it possible that they're still hanging around? And could Hamilton the musical have reawakened the ghosts of Alexander Hamilton? We are going to explore this right now. Before we get started, be sure to hit that red subscribe button, and while you're at it, hit that little bell too, because every time I post a video, you will get a notification. So it's like you'll be the first to know when a new video posts every Tuesday. That's my schedule right now. And also, as always, feel free to follow me on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. I'm not hard to find, as I always say. All right, let's dive into Hamilton. So what I find really fascinating about the reported hauntings of Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr is that they both haunt multiple places. So it's not just one place. So first, let's talk about Aaron Burr. After Burr shot Hamilton, Burr had to get out of New York. So he ended up in a town called New Hope, Pennsylvania, and he stayed at a friend's house. Apparently it was a Revolutionary War buddy he was staying with. And he stayed there for about a week. Some say it was a little bit longer. And he was also, going around town and trying to live his life, and while under incredible stress after you kill Alexander Hamilton. That house is still there today, and it is known as the Aaron Burr house. And what's interesting about this haunting is that Aaron Burr has been seen roaming around the house, as well as peering around corners as if he's looking for somebody, or he's checking to see if people are there. Aaron Burr's ghost has also been spotted around New Hope, Pennsylvania, and apparently his spirit looks like it's constantly looking over his shoulder, like he's expecting someone to follow him, which, given the circumstances that he was in New Hope, Pennsylvania, that totally makes sense. Burr's ghost has also been seen at a New York City restaurant called One If by Land, Two If by Sea. Really nice restaurant, but apparently Aaron Burr's ghost has been seen there. He's crashed dishes and moved chairs, and apparently he's very active, I believe, in the wine cellar or the basement. My microphone moved there. Talking to me, Aaron Burr? But anyway, employees that have worked at that restaurant have reported that they don't like going down into that cellar by themselves, especially at night after dark. Makes sense. So that's 2 locations so far. So let's talk about the third haunting associated with Aaron Burr. So towards the end of his life, Aaron Burr married a woman named Eliza Jamel. I believe he was 77 years old. Eliza married Aaron Burr for the name recognition. Burr married her because she had a lot of money and she lived in this really, really nice mansion in Manhattan. It was bought by her first husband, so basically she had tons of money. This was not a marriage that was a happy one, because Aaron Burr was really bad with money, apparently, especially towards the end of his life, and he spent almost all of Eliza's money. And this is a New York socialite, so she had some cash. Eventually, they were in the process of separating, and then he actually died about a year later. Their marriage didn't even last an entire year, apparently. And the really sad part about this is that their divorce was finalized on the day that Aaron Burr died. That's a terrible day. There's one more haunting associated with Aaron Burr, and sadly, it's one of the more depressing ones, and it actually breaks my heart a bit. You probably know the song Dear Theodosia, which is in the musical Hamilton. Now, the interesting correlation between Hamilton and Burr is that their firstborn child died at a young age. I mean, of course, we know about the death of Philip Hamilton, but Theodosia Burr Alston, because she was married at this point, she was only 29 when she was lost at sea. Now, there are some theories that maybe there were some pirates involved. She was coming from South Carolina, which that area was well known to have, some pirates. and she was actually sailing from South Carolina to New York to be with her father. She never arrived. So on that note, the ghost of Aaron Burr has been seen at Battery Park, specifically at the American Merchant Marine Memorial. Aaron Burr's spirit has been seen there, and it is believed that he is still waiting for his daughter to return. Now, could all of these be some sort of ghostly imprints? Maybe, especially the one at the Aaron Burr house, because, I mean, the man was going through a lot of stress at this time. And maybe the one at Battery Park, that is an emotional imprint because he was waiting for his daughter to return. And, I mean, losing your child is one of the worst things you can ever deal with. So anyway, those are the hauntings of Aaron Burr. Now, for the star of the show, let's talk about the hauntings of Alexander Hamilton. Sorry, guys, it's gonna be a lot of this. Maybe. I'll try to control myself. I'm gonna start small, and then we're gonna work our way up, because this one's pretty interesting. If you've never been to Trinity Church, which is around Wall Street, Alexander Hamilton, his wife Eliza, his sister-in-law Angelica, Hercules Mulligan, they're all buried at Trinity Church. And Alexander Hamilton has a pretty impressive memorial tomb display. It's huge, it's white. I mean, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. His spirit has been seen roaming around his tomb, which I find that interesting because I'm not a person who believes that cemeteries are haunted by the people that are buried there. I don't know about you, but the last place I would hang out would be where my body is, but that's just me. The duel between Hamilton and Burr took place in New Jersey. And then after he was shot, he was taken across the Hudson and he was treated and died at the home of his friend, William Bayard. Now, William Bayard owned a considerable amount of land in New York City. In fact, if you look up old maps from back then, you can actually see like where his plot is, like his plot of land. It takes up a good amount of the map. So Bayard was a pretty well-known, well-to-do guy, and he was treated by a doctor by the name of John Francis. It is believed that Bayard lived around 82 Jane Street. In fact, if you look at the buildings today, or the building, you will see a plaque at 82 Jane Street basically saying, hey, this is where Hamilton died. But it is believed that where Hamilton actually died was more like a block the other way. Semantics. Now, John Francis, the doctor who treated Hamilton, he lived at 27 Jane Street. What's interesting is in 1939, there was an artist that owned that building, owned the home, Jean Carasvina. She was experiencing like things moving, footsteps, blurs, shadows, all sorts of things. And in fact, the haunting was so intense that Hans Holzer himself investigated it. Where am I going with this? So as far as I know, there hasn't been any hauntings reported at 80 Jane Street or 82 Jane Street. But there were hauntings reported at 71 Jane Street, which is across the street and a few houses east from the plaque. Now today, that house is owned by a woman named Jo Hamilton, but she bought the house from a woman named Irene Connors who claims to have seen the ghost of Alexander Hamilton. She said she saw a man with knee-length trousers, slim, white powdered wig, and she just knew it was Alexander Hamilton. And then when Jo Hamilton bought the building, I believe in 1994, Hamilton and her family, by the way, no relation, Hamilton and her family actually had to sleep with earplugs in because there was sounds of crashes and weird noises, but nothing around was affected. But what Jo Hamilton did was she laid out the plans for her renovation work so that Hamilton could look at the plans. If you've read Ron Chernow's biography or you watched the musical, you probably would appreciate that Hamilton probably liked that. You know, get Hamilton involved in the interior redecorating. Anyway, so Jo Hamilton also had a lot of experiences as well, along with the weird noises and the crashes. I mean, the chain that was attached to the toilet would swing. Again, shadows, all sorts of things. A medium was brought to 71 Jane Street, and what's interesting is the medium didn't necessarily pick up the spirit of Alexander Hamilton, but she did pick up the spirit of a little boy. And so Jo Hamilton, the medium, and a host from the New York Radio Hour all came together and they did a seance. And apparently a Ouija board was involved. And so the medium asked the spirit of the little boy what his mother's name was. And the Ouija board spelled out Eliza. Okay, Eliza. So what's really interesting and fascinating with this is that there's a couple theories. Some people think that maybe this was the spirit of Philip Hamilton, you know, Hamilton's son that had died a couple years before him, also from a duel. Or maybe it was the infant son of Hamilton, also named Philip. I believe they named their youngest son Philip in honor of the oldest Philip. They brought the youngest Philip into the room where Hamilton was dying so that Hamilton could give him a kiss and say goodbye. All right, so visually we have to look at this. What does 71 Jane Street have to do with Alexander Hamilton? So if you look at 27 Jane Street and 82 Jane Street, and where Bayard's property was, you will see that 71 Jane Street is right in the middle, which is really fascinating. Could it be that maybe all of these important points at the end of Hamilton's life all kind of merged together to create like this energy for him to manifest? I don't know. And I forgot one more important point. Jo Hamilton said that the haunting at her home started escalating again around the same time that Hamilton the musical became popular. What? I have a whole theory with that. I really think that since now pretty much everyone knows Hamilton's story, and Lin-Manuel Miranda brought so much popularity to Alexander Hamilton, people are thinking of him, people are talking about him, and it's quite possible that maybe all of this talk gave him energy to manifest. And he's trying to get attention in another way. Needless to say, I'm pretty sure Alexander Hamilton's story will live on forever, whether it is on stage or in a haunted house. And the spirit of Hamilton will continue to live on way beyond our time on this earth. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Follow me on social media like Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, and I'll see you all in the next round.